On this show, we feature Cheri Cogman. You might remember me from my TV shows in the 1980s and 90s. And now I host a show featuring some of the most inspiring and inspirational people. Welcome to Magical People.
My name is Cheri Cogman. I'm a SkyTrain attendant, and I have been serving SkyTrain for 17 glorious years. My job is important because it gives us a chance to serve the people in a personal way, greet them with a smile and a handshake, and give them customer service, to show them directions, and also stand by medical response if and when that is needed as well. The best part of my job is making a difference in everybody's day. Just being there with a positive attitude and a smile really makes a difference. I love my job because I love people. When I was a little girl, I had three choices. I wanted to be either a nurse, a social worker, or a counselor. And I find here at SkyTrain, I get to wear all three hats, and I love it.
And we're back. I'm so glad to introduce to everybody my friend Cheri Cogman. How are you this day, Cheri?
Very well, Michael. Nice to see you again.
Same. And Cheri and I, we go back to when I used to work at Westminster Key Public Market. It must be close to 30 years. I know I relocated to Vancouver area. New Westminster is a suburb, sort of. It's its own city back in 94 and began kind of working right away. And then I met you somewhere around 94, 95. I don't remember exactly when. And we've been on and off keeping in touch. It's always very, very special to see you or connect by phone or whatever. And what's even more exciting to me is I sort of discovered your Facebook page, which, in my opinion, my humble opinion, it's gorgeous because you post these beautiful visuals, which may come up during the course of this show. You were kind enough to send me quite a few. And what excited me as well is you referred to yourself as a dream weaver, a truth seeker, a cosmic connector inside the universal web. And I want to expand on this, and maybe we can chat a little bit about what you referred to as, and a lot of us do as well, your awakening.
Yes, yes. So, I mean, a good question to ask people is, when did your awakening happen? Because it's different for each person, and they're always marvelous stories. When was the first time you heard your inner voice? For me, it was around the age of 11, and it was my dog. And I heard an inner voice say, love your dog up today as much as you can, because it's going to be the last time you see her. And I didn't question it. I was just like, whoa, what was that? Oh, what do I got to lose? I'm loving up my dog today, especially if it's the last time I'm going to see her. And pretty much 3 days later, she died. So that inner voice had my attention. What was that inner voice? How did they know the future? And what a gift it was to prepare me to be able to say goodbye with love to my dog. So that was sort of the beginning of my spiritual awakening, where I just wanted to know more.
Awesome. And so you obviously you went on a search, and there's a lot of people out there already on a spiritual journey, or
Mm-hmm.
if you will. It could last the rest of this lifetime and on to the next lifetime, of course. It never really ends. Just when we think, oh, I feel enlightened, I feel I know this now, and you think that's it. Oh no, it's like virtually the beginning. It's only the beginning, and it only enriches one's life. And hopefully, with the more knowledge you attain, you're helping to enrich other people's lives as well. So let's take it from there. You said to me off camera that you're able to do things and see things in your dreams.
Oh,
So
yes, yes. So I do
um,
label myself as Dreamweaver. My gift is definitely dream time. I believe it's in my family. My mother had the same gift. My daughter has it. We've all talked about it. Basically, just talking to people who have already passed over to the other side, coming and talking to us, and even some future events, warnings, different things like that. It was actually recorded. Abraham Lincoln. This is a great story. He shared a dream with his secretary. He dreamt about his assassination at the theater. And he says to his secretary, well, you think I should go? Is it an omen? And oh, it's just a dream. And actually, he did have a moment of warning that he shouldn't have gone. So it is possible. You think about it, we spend a lot of our time sleeping and dreaming. There's that movie Avatar, that perhaps there's another parallel universe or another dimension, or that there are dream portals where we can astral project to other places. So I'm totally open to that. I believe that it is possible, and I feel that I've stumbled upon that just with my own grace and cognitive awareness to be able to remember the dreams when you come back. So that's the trick. We all dream. It's a fact. You can't sleep without it. But the trick is remembering the dream, training yourself, your subconscious, to bring that back and remembering it when you wake up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to ask you, because we met when you were and you still are a SkyTrain attendant in Vancouver area or for TransLink. And do you think either A, working with people, assisting people, the public, if you will, um, either prompted this journey or is going sort of tandemly with the knowledge and the growth that that ensued? Because oftentimes gifted people, either psychic people or people that are what I consider to be natural born healers, which you are, whether you'll admit it or not, they're often, well, it's true, they're often placed into positions where they're working with the public. I have a couple of close friends. One of them, she can do mediumship. And
Mm-hmm.
but she's a hairstylist by profession, and it's because of her I met her deceased mom back around 93, 94 as well. I was playing with the tarot and I was doing a tarot card reading for her, and then her deceased mother came. That was my introduction to mediumship.
Nice.
That's a whole other story. So
Yeah.
my question for you is it possible that you're working in the public, which I believe you're still meant to do, um,
Mm-hmm.
because of your gifts or in addition to your gifts? How do you feel about all that?
Well, it's interesting because I did go to a psychic years ago, and my wish was to work with like-minded people. And SkyTrain came along. I applied for the job for 4 years before I got an interview. I was determined to get in there. By the time I got the interview, I just looked at him. I said, hey, I've been applying for 4 years. I'm not going to stop knocking on the door till you open it up. It's my destiny to work here. And I didn't care how that sounded to them. I was dead on serious. It is my destiny to work here. And it's a great job. I remember calling my mom saying, I can't believe it that, you told me don't talk to strangers, and they made a whole career out of it. And I'm like the kid that can't go to sleep. I'm going to miss something, but I genuinely love people connecting. It helps that I'm psychic and I can see auras and I can read people. And I offer that to people as I see it, if they're open to it. And I also pray to the universe to send me those who kind of need, they know me at SkyChain. They say, send that customer to Cheri. They need some Cheri love. They know it.
I love it. That's
Yeah.
perfect. That sure is perfect. I want to touch a little bit on something that's near and dear to me and really crucial. I didn't realize how crucial it was when I got into it, when I was receiving knowledge, which are the four meditation techniques years ago
Mm-hmm.
in 1989. I was searching, for lack of a better term, for God. I wanted some kind of experience. I believed in God all my life. Um,
Mm-hmm.
one of my parents just sat me down when I was two, believe it or not. And he said to me, he looked in my eyes, was my father, and he said, God is real. And that really moved me. And he said, you don't have to go to church or synagogue or anything, but
Hmm.
just follow the Ten Commandments. We're Jewish, so he used that terminology. My mom, not so much into God, more the psychic realm. She was able to do mediumship and just knew stuff that would blow me away. In any case, fast forward to age around 28, 29. I began at 18 meditating a little bit the Buddhist way, Zen Buddhism, actually. That was my introduction to meditation. And it felt really good, but I didn't know if I was doing it right. I was beginning to see light up in my third eye or brow area. And at age around 28 or so, I was introduced, one of my friends introduced me to a teacher. Another year later, I felt really humbled to ask this Mahatma, he
Hmm.
referred to himself as, for the four techniques. And I received them. And that changed everything for me because I was able to go inward. I was able to have experiences which I attributed to source,
Hmm.
to universal mind, to creation, the very thing that um, uh, creates everything and is working through me and you. And it's kind of like, I like to hearken it, and I see you use that terminology as well. We're in the matrix, but the matrix is within us. Another term,
Hmm.
we're in the universal mind, and the universal mind is within us. So that's just new thought, not new age, new thought terminology. So I'd like to get some feedback from you about meditation. Do you meditate? Do you feel it's something that's helped you and
Absolutely.
continuing? Yeah.
Absolutely. I started meditating again around the age, everything, my awakening, everything happened at 11. The inner voice, I wanted to know more. There was definitely something else going on, more that what can be seen, and I wanted to tap into it. So I did get into meditation, and I asked for a book title. And I've noticed that even tarot, generally say, oh, ask a question. Tarot doesn't always answer the question. Tarot gives you the answer that you need. They know what you need. It's beyond the question. It's just a place to focus. So the universe is the same way. So I just humbly say, what do I need to know at this point in my life that's going to help me further advance? Where am I at? Because the universe, it's God knows what's in your heart. So I asked
Perfect.
for a book title, and the first book title that was spoken to me, it was my test because I'm new at this. I was like, let's see if this meditation stuff really works. And so I asked for the book title, and the book title was Man and His Symbols. I went to the library and I found the book. Carl Jung,
Yes.
Jung, love him. So that
Yeah.
was the first book I ever read, Carl Jung. And it was big chapters on dreams, specifically death dreams, the symbology of death dreams. So I didn't realize this was my gift. So it was preparing me. And my grandmother, when she was dying, this was my first person who died. I said to her, Grandma, are you having any dreams? Because Jung says we all have our death dream. Whether or not we remember it, it's a whole nother story, but we're all told we're going to die. And it's symbolically based. So typically candlelights, churches, people praying, these kinds of things are all omens of death. So I asked my grandmother, she says, no, no, no. And then one day she goes, oh, yes, actually, I'm having a reoccurring dream, also quite common, so that you'll remember. And I said, okay, tell me the dream. And she says, I see my mother standing on the porch where I was born, waving a white handkerchief. Well, anybody can figure that out. Surrender. It's time to come home. And I said, Grandma, I'm afraid you've had your death dream. It's time for you to come home. It's okay. He says, sometimes people need permission to go. I said, you're not getting any better, and you're going to go to a better place, and your mom's coming to take you to a better place, and it'll be a big family reunion. You'll get to bring them all the news of this world, and it's going to be great. You're going to go to a better place. So she did die 3 days later. But
Yes.
I also had her death dream. And in my dream of her before she died, we're in a cave, and I see a light at the end of the cave, and she says, "Oh, I have to go to the washroom." And I said, "Okay, you go to the washroom. I'm going to go investigate, see what's at the end of this cave." And that was one of her complications, was her kidneys, and she kept going into coma. So that was another clue of the death dream. And I go to the end of the tunnel, and I see candles. It's a church, all symbolic of death. And then I yell back to my grandma, because she loves churches. I go, "Grandma, it's a church." And then I see all the people look up at me. I didn't realize they were there. I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize there was people in here." And I felt embarrassed. So then I went out the back door of the church, and I was in the most beautiful garden I've ever seen in my life. So it was heaven. The total death dream. So I was told your grandma's getting ready to pass. That's how I knew to keep an extra watch of her. I was like, "Oh, great, universe. So what am I, the angel of death over here?" Is that my position? I don't know if that's so glorious, but whatever. I'll go with it to comfort my loved ones during death. That,
Totally.
there's no end.
Yes, there is no end.
There's
Uh,
no end.
and that's what's exciting.
That's the good news. Yeah.
Is that it really doesn't end.
It
And
doesn't.
really, in my experience, also as a clinical hypnotherapist, I originally went
Mm-hmm.
for that because I wanted to give my clients more. I started off, as you met me, doing tarot. I was already several years into tarot when I moved to New West, when I moved to Vancouver area. But I found after a while it was a band-aid solution. People would go away feeling good, then a month later they'd come back, which is okay money for me, but that's not what I cared about. I mean, we need money to live, but I wanted to see progress. I wanted to see people progressing, if you will. And so when people would keep returning to me, that was good in one way, but it's like, okay, have you done some of the homework I've given you? And I found tarot has its place for sure. I love the richness of
Mm-hmm.
the various decks and the beauty of it. And it does
Mm-hmm.
contain symbology that Jung speaks about for accessing
Mm-hmm.
the subconscious mind and all that sort of thing. But I wanted to give my clients more. So I took a course, a huge course, huge book like this, a binder that I downloaded from the Robert Shields College of Hypnotherapy. And that took several years. It wasn't easy. In fact, my first, if you will, my first victim was my wife. Um, she was great because if I could hypnotize her, I knew I could hypnotize anybody. And as also a professional magician, I'll try tricks out on her, and depending on her reaction, I may or may not use it because
Yeah.
it's so cool. She maintains that objectivity. So I gain the credentials as a hypnotherapist, and then there's lineups. By then, I'm working at Reflections Books, a metaphysical store, for 7 years in Coquitlam.
Right.
In
Yeah.
Coquitlam, you may or may not
I
remember it.
remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
And the craziest thing is that people are lined up, and I'm not prepared to do this. They want past life regression. Oh, of course they do.
Of course they do.
Just because I didn't study that, it wasn't part necessarily of the
Yeah.
curriculum. And so I had to learn really, really quick, and I had to use my intuitive abilities and other abilities that you and
Mm-hmm.
some other people are familiar with, to do that. And I studied other books on how to do it. And
Right.
I loved it because it gave people a little bit more. It gave them more insight. But guess what?
What?
It wasn't enough as far as I'm concerned. And as you know, I'm probably crazy. It wasn't enough. I wanted to give them more. So right at that moment when I'd set the intention, the owner, the then owner, the original owner, Carol, hands me this book that just came in by Dr. Michael Newton. It's called Life Between Lives, or Soul Regression.
Mm-hmm.
Completely different ball of wax. And a typical session lasts about 2 hours, and I used to record it. I probably down the road I'll do it again, but I did tons of those things. And
Soul
what
regression.
soul regression? You
Sounds
take
really good.
Oh, it's awesome. You can really sink your teeth into this. So
Yeah.
you take your client under hypnosis or mild meditation, if you will, to the death scene of their last lifetime. It's not scary. I have techniques where they're in a movie theater, so they're not feeling anything, and it's like on a screen, and so there's not the
Interesting.
it's not the re-traumatization. And
Mm-hmm.
so there's the transition, their body leaves that last life, and then there's several steps to it. There's about half a dozen steps, but one of the steps is they get to choose. They get to choose one of four, three, four, six, depending on how many lifetimes they've had. They get to choose their next life. And oftentimes, what's involved is stuff they don't know, stuff they maybe want to experience, pleasant
Mm-hmm.
wise, or stuff that maybe they feel they want to learn. Now, sometimes when they make a decision, the universe, source,
Mm-hmm.
if you will, overrides that, and source, which knows better than us,
Of
just
course.
decides, no, you're better off with this certain lifetime because you'll learn more and whatever. It may be harsher, but you should do that. So that's just a little bit of a taste. And my goodness, they used to come away, Cheri, just really knowing why, what the purpose is in this lifetime, their soul's purpose, if you will, which
Mm-hmm.
it constantly evolves and changes anyway. But
Yes.
it's a good start. And then I take them into the birthing process, if you will, of being in their mother and then, coming into this lifetime. So I found I love soul, rather past life regressions, but it's more entertainment. You get to learn a lot. And
Yeah.
double checked, I've researched names and places and dates that they mentioned and that they were. And it's like, oh my goodness, these things
Mm-hmm.
exist. But the soul
Yes.
progression, I believe, in my own judgment, it gives them more. It gives them
Right.
a little bit more purpose, and it's just an incredible experience. So
Nice.
I probably shared this with you and our public out there for a reason. And
Oh, for sure.
who knows, maybe you'll be doing that. I can do it without doing hypnosis, as you know,
Mm-hmm.
gifted in certain ways, and I can just look at a person and their past lives will come to me, and I can do all that stuff as well. Now, to
Mm-hmm.
my fellow magicians who are the biggest skeptics, just plug your ears. Don't listen to this, okay? But I made a good living and helped a lot of people for, I
Yes.
think I was 6 years at the Key, full time, 7 days a week, and went on to Reflections books and Visions books. And Under the Moon was one of my favorite places. I think they were in Poco. They no longer exist, unfortunately. But
Mm-hmm.
the whole purpose wasn't to make a buck. The whole purpose was to help others to either
Yes.
heal and or enrich their lives. And I know that's where you're coming from, isn't it?
Yes. Absolutely. I started doing tarot at flea markets at the age of 12. And I basically said, $5 minimum. Otherwise, it's a donation because with donation, it's all about what's it worth to them.
Yes.
And I was confident and I know that I was changing lives. Um, I've done tarot the last 2 years for my daughter's Halloween dance performance and Halloween party event. And it's always wonderful how much it helps people. It's so rewarding. That is just the greatest gift.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I want to talk a little bit as well. And yes, I'm going to bring this up. We spoke about it again before we came to air. FEAR, fear.
Mm-hmm.
And before we get into the meanings and everything, I read this incredible book when I was new at the Key. It was probably in 94, 95, by Marianne Williamson. It was New Age, not New Age, New Thought, metaphysics,
Mm-hmm.
called, oh boy, A Return to Love. And she defines fear as the absence of love, the true opposite,
Absolutely.
the opposite of love being
Yes.
fear. And
Yes.
obviously that resonates to you. Most people will go, oh yeah, the opposite of love is hate, and that's fine. But really, it is fear because fear is coming from a whole other place. And fear as well, according to my cheat notes, and I think it was your Facebook, false evidence appearing real. False evidence appearing real, FEAR. And I think it's really, really crucial that we either touch on this or maybe discuss it a little bit. I really believe some people will get a lot out of this.
Hmm. So there's more acronyms there of what it gradually it just keeps evolving. So that's kind of traditionally what it was known as. Um, so in other words, it's not real. It like
Yes.
we see it's an illusion, almost like magic or a trick. Like in the movies, they say, "Oh, it's not real. It's not real." So
Yeah.
in the same way, Maya, it's an illusion, it's trickery, and you won't actually know it isn't real until you step through it, until you face it.
Yes.
And then you realize when you face it, you go, oh, it disappears. It wasn't real. That wasn't so bad. All I had to do was speak my truth and present myself as I am and not be afraid and just own it and be it and walk through it.
Absolutely. And when I was studying at the University of Metaphysics / University of Sedona, the terminology was all New Thought metaphysics. So the terminology for that, or where it's coming from, is our personal ego mind. Because,
Mm,
and I have a feeling that just resonated for you as well. Personal
mm-hmm,
ego mind is illusionary because we're seeing through the mind, the human mind, as opposed to the God mind or the universal mind, which is
mm-hmm,
infinite. The personal ego mind is very finite. And if we get into through mystical meditation, if we can just touch for a moment, even universal mind or source or God or creation or peace, love, joy, harmony, higher intelligence, wisdom, and creativity, then just energetically we raise up a little bit.
mm-hmm,
Energetically, we start to allow source to work through us, to speak through us,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
for us to see through the eyes of a child or the eyes of God, if you will. And now
mm-hmm.
I'm being guided for us to talk a little bit about seeing through the eyes of a child. What does that mean
Mm-hmm.
to you, and what can it mean for other people?
Uh, one of my sayings is the great kaleidoscope of life. So as individuals, we are the kaleidoscope of life pertaining to entertaining other people's visions. So somebody will say, "Oh, this is my perspective. This is how you see it," and you're like, "Oh, I never looked at it that way." And then you allow yourself to see it through their eyes. So there's unlimited possibilities. When people say, "Oh, this is my perspective, it's my truth," but it doesn't mean it's the ultimate truth. It's just their truth based on their experiences and where they're at in that moment. But the beauty of being the cosmic connector is allowing yourself to open up and connect with these different perspectives and look through these different eyes to see that the horizon is way bigger and way vast than we ever imagined. So
Yes.
that's the gift there and being connected. And the fact is that God does work through each of us. Messages come to us because we're all animated by the source energy of God. Therefore, we are all communicators and we're all in this together. And a lot of times messages come to us, synchronicities, the universal play, but through each other, what we see in each other. Because we mirror stuff to each other. It's not always, we mirror stuff when we trigger each other to resolve our stuff that we haven't dealt with, and that's a blessing. That's a whole nother chapter. But we mirror all the good things too. We mirror a lot, and that's why we're all in this together, to see through each other's eyes and to embrace that.
Excellent. Well said. I love the way you express that. And I also love the fact that you speak in terms of chapters because we've probably both had a similar vision. I've written at this point 85 books. 20 of them are magic and performance related. The balance of them are self-help metaphysics, if you will. And
Mm-hmm.
I had this vision. I had assumed you'd already published a few books.
Oh,
So
nice.
my vision for you, or my picture, is that, well, it's already done. It is already so in the mind of the universe. And how do you feel about writing? Do you feel attuned to that?
Well, my lady friend, I tried to live with a lady friend when I was a young girl. When about 12, I ran away from home. My mom was hit by a car and bad things happened, and I couldn't live there. I felt evil spirits and things, and I think she just had a brain injury. But back then they didn't have MRIs, and I didn't understand it. I just knew I couldn't live there. So I went and lived with a lady friend. She's still around. And she always says, Cherie, where's your book? Don't you remember when you were little, you said, when I grow up, I'm going to be a writer. I'm going to write a book. She goes, I'm disappointed. I still haven't seen a book yet. So she reminded me it's something I'm
Totally.
supposed to do. And people tell me all the time, when are you going to write a book? Because of all my posts. So
It's
it'll happen when it's meant to.
absolutely. I'm sure that's so. And it's going to be easier for you than you think. My process was,
Thank you.
it's absolutely true. If you allow higher guidance to work through you, you're
Hmm.
what they call channeling it, right? And
Right.
for me, my process was 1 year. I forget what year it was, 20 years ago, perhaps, or 15 to 20 years ago. I had set my intention or intentions for the new year. And one of them was to write one book, and one of them was to earn at least a bachelor's, eventually, perhaps, a master's and then a doctorate down the road, which I did achieve. I achieved that 3 times in the last 20 years. But honestly, the book, the book, Cherie, and I know that once you allow Source to work even more through you and setting that intention, I sat down at my computer and I started typing. This is how I type, not very well. No, I actually what they call peck it out, I think. And it was like seeing through jelly. And that was my experience, or jello, if you will. And I'm not even consciously knowing what's going on. I'm just writing it. I see a few lines underlined in red, or a few words rather underlined in red, and that's obviously spelling errors. But I would type out several pages. I don't remember how many to start, and save it, of course. And then I'd have Sue, who she's retired right now. That's my wife, a teaching assistant. I'd have her
Okay.
proofread it. Uh,
Right.
and I'd look at it and it's like, holy cow, I read this. I mean, I wrote this. And then
Yes.
she'd look at it and it made
Yes.
perfect sense to her. And that was the beginning. I can find, if I set the intention and work my scheduling out right, I can write and finish a 300-page book in a month.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Good for you.
Much the same
But you're
process.
right. It's the channeling.
Yes.
I get
It,
I get into that too. Most of my Facebook posts that I've been writing and collecting, which I was told by my inner voice, it was 2020. I only started writing then. Well, I've been making all my own notes for years, but I was always the commenter. I was never the poster. And then in 2020, my inner voice says, you have to start writing. This is your time. The world has gotten very dark. We need your light. We need your love because everything's so dark and negative, and this is your time to shine. Showtime. So I was called. I had a calling. I was like,
absolutely.
2020. Oh, I finally had a calling.
Absolutely true. I believe that's true. And it speaks to
Yeah.
me most days. I don't know if you notice who likes your stuff or who whatever.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
I don't comment because I'm humbled oftentimes by your post.
Aw.
No, truly. And so I'll see your post and it'll be so relevant or appropriate for me that day, or in my life just generally. So I knew at a certain point, I forget how long I've been looking at these posts, a year, two, three, maybe, I don't know. um, they resonate for me, and I knew you were channeling, whether you were consciously
Hmm.
aware of
Hmm.
it or not. But it's like, maybe you're inspired, maybe you just feel good, and it's like, oh yeah, I gotta, okay, blah 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 blah.
Some of it's inspired and some of it's channeled, and it happens all different times of the day because I get it early in the morning, but I've had it at night. I said,
Yes,
oh my God, I can't believe it's nighttime and I'm channeling. And
yes.
people want to talk, or I've canceled going out. I'm sorry, I can't go out right now. I'm channeling. I can't stop this flow. I don't care if you don't understand that. I'm having a moment writing and I can't stop. I have to keep going. So we'll have to reconvene.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I know, I was going to say I hope, but I sure know that you're going to continue and, as we all do, evolve, and the intention being to help others, or to help others to help themselves.
absolutely.
I'm so grateful to know you, Cherie, and I know we've kind of touched on stuff. I'm hoping you'll come back, and maybe we'll go into greater detail
Absolutely.
in the future.
For
Um,
sure.
so I want to thank you for coming on. Let's say people want to contact you either for a reading or whatever. Can they contact you through social media, or how?
Oh yes. Yeah. I go by Cheri Hawkins on social media. That's my maiden name, Hawkins. So I go by that on social media, and I have the Facebook page, and they can contact me there. It says I work for a BCRTC, so I'm a sky babe when I'm not doing tarot.
Very good. Very. So that's where I found you, was on Facebook under Cherie, Cheri, Hawkins, Hawkins. And
Correct.
I know a lot of people, they're going to come on the show this season, maybe next season as well, to connect on LinkedIn. Your name is Cherie, same thing, Cheri, Cogman, Cogman. Is that correct?
I know. I just have, two people in here. I can expand into two people. Slots going on. Why
Very
choose when you can have both, right?
exactly. Exactly. It's like two different flavors of ice cream,
Yeah,
perhaps
yeah,
scoops, two different
yeah,
scoops in one. I
yeah.
want to thank you once again for honoring me by coming on this show this day, Cherie, and my eternal gratitude. Hopefully, we'll connect again really soon.
Sounds good. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Cherie. And I want to thank all of you out there as well for joining us. We'll see you all really soon.